The Arabian Peninsula, for ages a land of dunes, wind and sand. Yet, after centuries of precarious development, the region is now one of incredible growth and progress, wealth and luxury. Home to 7 countries boasting some of the world's most cosmopolitan cities, today's Arabian Peninsula bears testimony to human ingenuity, the ability to turn barren, sterile soil into a lush, fertile oasis. Its most prosperous cities are sophisticated neural financial hubs, influential cultural centers and world-class tourist destinations boasting avant-garde architecture, and most importantly, jobs for people from around the world. Underneath the sand and rock lies the source of this wealth, oil. Its exploitation has transformed the region, yielding unprecedented riches in less than a century. For hundreds of years, nomadic tribes dominated the peninsula. They depended on cattle and the limited agriculture afforded by its few oases, along with fishing and pearl cultivation along the shores. Then the 7th century saw the introduction of Islam. Its prophet, Muhammad, was born in Mecca about 570 and first began preaching there in 610 before migrating to Medina in 622. From Medina, he and his companion united the Arabian tribes under Islam's banner, creating a single Arab-Muslim religious polity. Since then, this region has remained eminently Muslim territory, ruled by royal dynasties that, in differing degrees, have tolerated Christianity within their kingdoms. Although today a minority religion, Christianity has actually been present in this region since the 1st century, with the New Testament book of Acts recording Arab conversions to the faith. Following the fall of large portions of former Byzantine provinces to Arab armies, a vast Christian population came under Arab-Muslim dominance. As Muslim commanders expanded their empire throughout Asia, Africa and southern Europe, they offered 3 conditions to the conquered: convert to Islam, pay the jizya tax every year, or face a war to the death. Those refusing war or conversion were deemed to have agreed to the jizya. It is generally accepted that after Islam's rapid expansion from the 7th century onward, many Christians remained faithful. The 21st century is now seeing a growing openness to religious diversity in stark contrast to earlier times. In fact, Christianity is experiencing one of its highest growth rates here. In many places, churches are filled to capacity, unable to embrace all the faithful who turn to them in search of a liturgical life. The boom has come mainly from the millions of non-native workers hailing from over 100 countries flooding this region. In the United Arab Emirates alone, 85% of an almost 9 million population are non-citizens. While oil ignited the progress, nowadays financial services, tourism, real estate and high-tech development represent the new economic forces shaping the region. However, amid glittery civic facades, hordes of migrant workers live in sparse conditions. Like desert Bedouins enticed by a legendary oasis, they seek abundant prosperity, but instead find themselves trapped in a reality diametrically opposed to the mirage that brought them here.
I would like to guess that about 70–80% of people coming here never really improve their lot. They simply end up frustrated. Some are even dejected and they return home without anything at all. It's a struggle because I guess it's the society itself making it a little bit tough for everyone. These Asians who come thinking that they will have a better life should think twice, because some of them or most of them are not really prepared to come. Some have not even finished studies. even finish the proper work ethics, but they simply come because of the promise that life will be better. And this is, the problem really begins back home. And the problem is the image of Dubai projected in the world. And you go to Satwa, you go to Karama, you go to Murakabat, you go to some places where life is really miserable. In one space like this, you will find about 8 double-deckers. 8. And they share a small kitchen and one small toilet for about 16 of them. And I think that is not the worst, because in that big villa, not so big villa, I was told that there were 52 of them living in that villa. So what they show you is only, of course, the good part. If you want to see the real Dubai, maybe you have to come with us and we'll show you.
Although varying from country to country, in general, worker mistreatment and a lack of rights is common. Low economic growth in their own countries often drive workers to the peninsula to support families back home. For many, even a meager income is better than nothing. Unfortunately, many must pay recruitment fees to the people who find them work, and in some cases work visas can cost up to a year's wages. Unions and labour strikes are not permitted in the region, and insubordinate workers are immediately deported back home. 12-hour shifts for 6 or even 7-day work weeks without overtime pay are common. Some struggle to send home no more than $100 a month, despite working 11-hour days, 6 days a week. Low-end job foreign workers can't keep their passports, which are usually held by the person who recruited them, thus controlling mobility. The vast majority of workers live in labour camps, large facilities with dormitories and common areas. While some claim on-site leisure facilities and a wide range of recreational pursuits, their conditions vary greatly. Some conform to international labour standards, while others are meagre and inadequate. Conditions worsen if foreigners illegally overstay their visas. In some cases, up to 14 workers might have to share 80 square metre rooms. The neighbourhoods surrounding these labour camps have become cities of men, where thousands live solitary lives alongside their male counterparts. The sociological phenomena are strikingly challenging. Women too suffer similar conditions, and in a place where millions of men and women share this plight, loneliness pervades. Contractors often fall behind on paying workers' salaries. With no legal bodies to protect them, it is not uncommon for workers to end up unpaid. They become trapped, unable to buy an airfare back home or pay their fines for remaining illegally in the country. Hubs for the ultra-rich, food is costly in some of these cities, and workers might spend up to 1/3 of their salary just to eat. Retirement programs are also non-existent, sending workers aged 65 back to their home countries without any steady source of income, since losing a job means one must legally depart within 30 days. These conditions combine to breed racism and a society full of people living a second-class existence, in stark contrast to the abundance of benefits enjoyed by local citizens.
We have about 9 million inhabitants, and out of these, only 1 million are locals, Emiratis, are citizens, and 8 million are so-called expatriates, foreigners of many nationalities. And we can say we have 2 classes of people living here. The locals, they have better housing, they have better health care, free schooling, even better salaries for the same job, and they speak Arabic among themselves, have their own culture and traditions and customs. Whereas all the expatriates, they belong to a different world, a different culture, and live a different lifestyle.
In general, in my vicariate is the same. The condition of the workers are like the conditions in the other countries of the Gulf. What we need is that every government makes laws to protect the workers. There is no law to protect a worker, so anybody can be sent away in 1 second.
Broken families remains another prevailing issue faced by migrants all over the world.
These bachelor men, since they are living here alone, not with their families, and sometimes, they find themselves in a situation that they feel the need of being with somebody. That's why many here, without families, sometimes resort to have illicit relationship. It's common in the Middle East countries because of loneliness, somebody to talk with. So we try to encourage them to join the church activities, to make themselves active in the church. Because if you are only alone in the house after working, you think of other many things, going to nightlife. It's normal thing here. Not only bachelors, also handmaids, we call it. Women without husbands here also.
Amid these struggles, practicing the faith also remains a challenge. Although the relationship between Muslims and Christians is cordial in most countries, that is not the case everywhere. Moreover, while Christians in these countries are technically free to practice their faith, and the local religious hierarchy respects this, restrictions do exist. All the peninsula countries forbid conversions from Islam to another religion, as well as interfaith marriages. All require government authorization for religious personnel within their borders. All strictly limit the construction of religious buildings and forbid religious symbols as exterior architecture. All prohibit Catholic seminaries within their territories. And finally, of the 7 countries, Saudi Arabia has the strictest limit on religious freedom. No religious building, no possession of Bibles in public places, no religious gatherings without prior authorization. In fact, believers may not even publicly wear crosses or import religious articles, from rosaries to Bibles. To be fair, in some cases, local authorities and even royal families exhibit greater tolerance towards other religions, but they are at times pressured to curtail religious liberties by ultra-conservative and fundamentalist groups, ministers and advisors within their governments and courts.
The problem is not with the normal Muslims. 95% of the Muslims are moderate. Only 5% are fundamentalists. And this 5% makes a big noise. And it seems that all the Muslims are like them. In fact, it is not like that. So the relations of our Christians are much more with the moderate Muslims than with this 5% of fundamentalists. In general, the relations are good. And I cannot say that the governments try to make a proselytism. It is not. They are the fundamentalists who try to proselytize, to conquer Christians, to convert them to Islam. But this is not the policy of the governments.
To promote rapid development, the Arabian countries have promoted greater religious freedom, although it is always strictly regulated and still subject to extreme measures and abuses. A growing Catholic Church finds herself having to confront this situation head-on.
In an Islamic society, we know we have not the same rights and not the same freedom. Also, simply being foreigners in a civil sense of the word. Of course, I am always saying the church has no foreigners, but the civil society knows foreigners. Nobody has the citizenship of this country, and that puts us in a particular situation. Then being a Christian means we are a minority in Muslim society, which is well established since centuries. And that may sometimes